In this video, I want to show you how to do something that was inspired by a t-shirt. And then it became this. The network is quite simple. There's no glsl like in my other tutorials. Only a few tops on this side, a few chops here, and also a couple of dots. As always, we're going to do everything from scratch, so let's open a new file. We start with a text top. Change its size to 1080 by 1080. And type a short word. Uppercase works better. Then give it an extra bold font like Arial Black and make it big. I'm setting font size to 220. And then we drop a null and call it text. We're going to refer to it later a few times. And then we need a couple of constants. The first one will be dash with a value of 2, and the second one will be gap with a value of 6. And then we drop a null and call it constants. We also want to add dash and gap, and we can do that with a math chop. And we want to rename that to segment. Now we just need to merge that, and we have all of our constants. We're going to use them starting up here with a rectangle top. First we change its color to red, and then we set a custom resolution where width is going to be dash and height is going to be 1. The same goes for the rectangle size, so size X is going to be dash and size Y is going to be 1. Then we need a transform top. Also change the output resolution to custom. And this time the width is going to be segment and the height is still going to be 1. Now go to the transform tab and we want the scale X to be dash divided by segment. Set the pivot X to 0 and the smoothness to nearest pixel. Now we need another transform top, also with a custom resolution. And this time it's going to be op text.width. Copy the expression, paste it, and replace width by height. In the transform tab, we also need to change scale X. And this time it's going to be the segment divided by the width of this top. So me.par.resolution.w. Also change the pivot X to 0, and we can see a very thin line on the left of the viewer. Now we go to the tile tab and change extend to repeat. This is the mask that we're going to use to slice our text, and we can apply that mask with an inside top. Now let's set a background to our scene with a transform top. On the background color, set alpha to 1 and toggle comp over background color. Then drop an alt top and toggle the display flag. Now let's make this a bit more interesting. Drop a noise top, change the type to simplex 2D, and drag the period slider to a small number. We also want the amplitude to be 1 and the offset to be 0. The height is going to be 1, and for the width just paste the same expression again, op text.width, and divide it by constant segment. From there we need to connect another transform top, also with a custom resolution, and again the same expression, text.width and text.height. And again set the smoothness to nearest. Now we can combine this noise with our masked word using a Displace top. Set the horizontal source to none and the vertical source to red. Source midpoint 0, 0. Displace weight is going to be 0 and 0.1. We can see the displacement is happening in only one direction, and that is because of the pixel format of our noise. So let's change that to 32-bit float mono. Now we completely disfigured our word, but we can do something to address that. Let's make a copy of the noise, and this time we don't want it to be 32-bit float, so just reset the parameter. Then change the seed to something else, like 2, and change the period to be a little bit different. And then we drop a threshold top and change the value to something around 0.1, 0.2. With that we filter only the brightest pixels. And then we need a reorder top. Set all the channels to 0 except alpha, which needs to be red. And then another transform top, also with a custom resolution, also with the same expression, so just paste it again and change width to height. With these black bars we can mask out some of the white bars we created earlier, and we can combine them with an under top. We need to invert the order here and change the fixed layer to input 1. And now we can read our word again. Let's animate this noise. Under translate Y we write the classic expression abstime.seconds times 0.1. Now this is becoming something, and we can test it with some other words. Next we need some sound, so let's start by dropping an audio file in. Just pick any track you like. I'm going to use the default one, and I'm going to keep audio device out muted for now. Then we want a math to combine left and right channels, and we want a small value, so we're going to use subtract. And then we drop an analyze chop and set the function to RMS power. And then another math chop, which we can use later to boost this value. And then a lag chop and a null. Now we want to convert this from chop to top. And set the fit viewer to fill so it stops flickering. And then we can combine this with our masked bars using a multiply. And now we have our sliced text with a subtle reaction to the track. We want a stronger reaction every time there is a beat. And for that we can use a component from the palette called audio analysis. We can drop a null to see the output channels, but I already know I want to select a channel called Snare Detection. And from there we need a trigger and a null to end this part of the chain. And then we also want to convert this value from chop to top. Again, set the fit viewer to fill. And we can use an add to combine it with the other chop tool. Now every time a snare is detected, the slices go up and down. And we can even skip our black bars to make the effect more dramatic. We can also go back to that math chop that we bypassed earlier and adjust the intensity of that subtle motion. I'm noticing a hiccup in the animation, and that comes from the default values of the trigger chop. We can see that quite clearly if we drop a trail. We need to adjust the sustain values. Let's set the decay length to 0.4, and for the others let's just set them to 0. Now that hiccup is gone and we can feel the rhythm much better. Another thing we can do is to change these words every time there's a beat. And for that we need a count chop and a limit chop. We also need a list of words, which we can get with a table dot. And then I'm going to click on edit and just type a bunch of 3-letter words without any particular meaning. You can of course create a narrative with them, but I'll leave that up to you. Now that we have our list, we can adjust our limit chop, change the type to loop, minimum to 0, and maximum to op table1.num rows. Now we can drop a no and call it index. To pick a word from the list, we need a select that. We select rows by index, and the start row index is going to be op index square brackets 0. The end row index is going to be the same because we just want one row, so copy start as a parameter and paste it as a reference. Now we can drop another null and call it word. And then we go back to our text top and use the expression op word square brackets 0, 0. Now we get a new word every time there's a beat. And we can make the effect a bit stronger by changing the amplitude of the noise. If you're watching the video in HD, you might notice that some of the lines are thinner than the others, and it doesn't look good. And that is because the width of the letters and the position of the text are not aligned with our masks. We can fix that with 2 more tops. The first is a resolution top, and we're going to set its width with an expression, which is me.inputs0.width divided by the constant segment. This will squish our text to be only as wide as our number of segments. And the height should be the same as the input, so me_input0.height. And then we need another resolution top to stretch it back to the size we want. So just set it to 1080 by 1080 again. The thin lines are still there. I think I forgot something. Yes, we need to go back to the text and change the display method to bitmap and switch anti-alias to off. Now the lines are all the same thickness, and this is the effect we're after. It's quite simple, but I think it's nice to create some graphic elements from text. I hope you liked it. you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. Otherwise, until the next video.